everyone, Amy here. Welcome back to my channel, Paper Therapy. Thanks for stopping by. Merry Christmas. A little early, but I'm going to be doing a Christmas layout today, and this is my least favorite time of year to scrapbook. Everyone's probably like, what? So I'm going to be using white pines, and I'm just going to make it Christmassy, even though I'll tell you why it's my least favorite time of year to scrapbook. Because here's my pictures. We always go to my mother and father-in-law's for Christmas. We drive there. It's about a 4-hour drive, and the kids love it. It's a fun time, but the pictures are just very eclectic, very oaky background, very unfinished basement, and this is actually my husband's great-grandma's house, and they don't match each other. They don't have much flow, so I struggle to scrapbook the pictures and then try and make it look Christmassy on top of that. But I'm just gonna embrace the pictures the way they are. It was a busy, fun time, and I'm just gonna show you how I'm gonna try and make this into a fun Christmas layout, even with all the colors that are going on in here. So I'm kind of gonna ignore all the colors. I'm not gonna try and pick any out. There's hot pink on my niece's shirt here. There's orange on my son's quilt that he got from his grandma that she sewed for him. There's orange on my brother-in-law's shirt. There's just a lot of colors going on. And instead of embracing those, sometimes actually I'll print in black and white or sepia just so I don't have to deal with all the colors. But instead of dealing with that, I'm going to just ignore it and go with Christmassy colors, and we're going to see where that leads us. So I already decided that because this is Christmas Day, most of this, so not quite everything, but almost all of it's Christmas Day. So I'm going to be putting this Merry Christmas title right in the middle. I am going to trim all these pictures in this is one of my favorites right here. This is my brother-in-law back here, and then the older kids. So my niece, and then my 3 boys. I just think it's such a neat picture, seeing them all grown up having a kitchen gathering. So that one's gonna get a special frame just because it's kind of one that I want to bring out a little bit. And then these guys are all gonna get trimmed. And then I think, because, like I said, I don't love doing Christmas pictures, so I often find that I have a lot of Christmas paper just hanging around from years back. So I'm just going to use, this is quite busy for me, so I'm just going to use these trees as my background. I'm just going to use some of it up. So this is going to go in here. There we go. And then I'm going to have all these pictures trimmed up in that creamy color, and I'll probably ink them because I do find it's quite creamy. And this is probably going to come down a bit and cover the top of this one because it doesn't need to show all the way. And so these guys will all get, so I cut these pictures to 4x4, and then I realized when I cut 2 4¼ strips off of my sheet of cream paper, and then I didn't want to have as much waste. So if I would have cut 4¼ and 4¼ to have these square, I would have had like an extra chunk of waste like I did the first time when I cut this way, right? So I had an extra piece, which I used for these small ones, that wasn't quite big enough to trim. So these didn't really matter if I cut some off the bottom, so I just cut them down to 4 so that I was able to get 3 squares. They're actually slightly rectangle. So this picture without the trim is 4¼ with the trim is 4¼ by 4. Without the trim, it's 3¾ by 4. Sorry. Okay, let's just pop these in here. And then I'm just gonna go to town on the sticker sheet and use those stickers up, because really the only time you can use them for is Christmas, and I don't do tons of Christmas layouts because we do a gift opening with our family at home, which I'll make Christmassy, but it's a little bit more monochromatic. The colors are more, I could stick to a certain color palette, so I don't actually have a Christmas pack right now that would go with it. So I'll either have to come up with one or... So this is kind of how my photos are going to get laid out. I'm going to, just off camera, I'm going to stick this down and I'm going to ink around the edges of the whites just to break it up a little bit. And then I'm going to come back and show you how I'm going to embellish and add some pattern paper to this. So I'll be right back. So I've got all the elements from the sticker sheet here. I've removed the stickiness from them, and I am going to use them to embellish. I like to ink the edges of them because I like the uniform look of all the edges being inked. So it's just an option. You can do it if you want to. I've got Merry Christmas popped up on pop tape, and I'm going to layer these trees here, and then I'm going to add some little birds. When I add the birds, there's two, and I want to repeat elements on either side of the page. So when I add them, I like to face them inward because that kind of brings your eye across the layout. So that's the best way of doing it. I think I just realized that these pictures actually aren't stuck down. So I'm going to stick them down a moment first, and then I will start layering my embellishments in. Also, I am adding in some paper strips like banners across the bottom. This is a way to not use very much paper and decorate up a page quite quickly. I've dovetailed these banners, and I'm going to ink them up around the edges and have them kind of continue from one side to the other. And they also make a base for some of the embellishments on the right-hand side. I dovetailed the zip strip as well. It has some little gifts and some words about Christmas on it. And it's the branding strip from the paper. And there's also a green, long, narrow sticker that I'll be using to add another banner, just to give the bottom of the layout nice weight and have all the colors going across the bottom of the layout. So if you are a follower of my channel or you're subscribed to my channel, then you may have noticed I have been missing for a while. I went for a 10-day trip with my husband to Texas, and it was beautiful weather. He was on a work trip, so I spent some of the time on my own, but we did take some time together as well. So making more photos for scrapbooking down the line on these videos, these episodes. Another thing I want to talk about is the fact that there is a lot of sunshine, and my body's creating a shadow kind of on this layout. My craft room can be a very sunny spot if the sun is shining, and I do have kind of sheer curtains in there, but I guess I was really enjoying the sun, and it was really nice lighting for me to do my crafting, but I guess it was making a bit of a shadow. So sorry if that's distracting, but I'll just have to roll with it because this is the video that I've got. I popped up my one little birdie, and that tree in the background is glued flat down. And now I'm going to add some embellishments to the other side. I haven't fully decided yet at this point where I'm going to have those two pictures. So they're not actually stuck permanently down yet. I was just not sure about the ornaments, and I want to put a tree kind of beside my niece and the dog. So I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to arrange that, so I didn't quite stick it down yet. I'm not sure if you can hear my dog making little barks. She sees something going on outside, and she thinks she has to make little murmurs to let them know that this is her territory. So if you hear that, sorry about that. I used up a really good portion of the paper pack on this layout, and I'm really happy about that because I have Christmas paper kind of hanging around. I mentioned that earlier, and it'll be from years back, and I'll be like, you know, I just don't love doing Christmas layouts, so it just kind of hangs out, and I'm glad to be using it up and getting rid of it. And I really like how the layout turned out. I'm okay with all the colors in it. It's just kind of like this was our time, and the layout itself is Christmassy enough for to make the pictures feel more Christmassy, if that makes sense. So I'm just completing the continuation of my banners across to the right-hand side. And I really like using this on a layout with a lot of pictures that's quite full. I find the illusion is there that these papers are going all the way through, even though they aren't. And it just kind of brings that patterned paper in without having to use very much of it, but giving you like the cohesive feeling because you're bringing the colors all around the page. And I also continue to bring the colors around the page by adding a little bit of embellishments up towards the top there and some little word phrases. So a really neat thing about this layout is that if you have absolutely no scrapbooking supplies and you want to get into scrapbooking, you could make this layout with the White Pines paper pack, some adhesive, and paper trimmer, and one sheet of cream or off-white paper. That is all I used. I didn't stamp on this layout. I did not use any enamel dots. I didn't use any glitter, any sprays, any splatters. I just used the paper pack and one sheet of vanilla paper. That's all I used. And honestly, that is one of the reasons I fell in love with Close to My Heart and I wanted to become a consultant. The first reason was because I discovered the how-to books. And I don't use them much anymore, but in the beginning, I constantly used them. And they are just the simple, faster, easier motto that Close to My Heart has is so true. It's just everything matches, everything fits together when you get a paper pack. And as you get more advanced and you want to spend more time on it, then you can spend more time. But on a layout like this, as I said, I don't love doing these pictures and I have the paper pack available to me. I just thought, why not just show everybody how to do a layout, how to bang out a layout, be happy with it, and say, okay, I did some of my not favorite pictures. They're in the album. This Christmas is remembered. Let's move on to the hikes that I love scrapbooking so much. I don't have to have any guilt about, missing Christmas 2021. Normally, I would edit out a lot of these rearranging, and you've seen there how I moved the pictures down and then kind of rearranged my embellishments again. But this time I decided to leave it in. The video wasn't super long, so I thought I'll leave it in and show kind of how sometimes you do pull things up and rearrange them. But all in all, I think it took me maybe 2 hours to do this layout, which is quite quick for me, especially since sometimes I bring in stamping and die cuts and all those little elements take time, of course. Well, this little birdie with his hat and scarf is just kind of wandering around the page, trying to find the place where he wants to end up. And that became his home down there. And then I'm just adding these little phrase stickers, getting them stuck down because, of course, I removed the stickiness with one of the non-stick pouch. So then I have to re-glue them down afterwards. But I just like to be able to move them around. So many times a sticker sticks right down and then you're like, oh no, I want to lift it up. And sometimes they stick so good, they just will not come up. These little stars were on the sheet. So instead of going with enamel dots, I went with the stars that came on the sheet. So like I said, you don't need anything else but this paper pack and one 12 by 12 sheet of cream colored paper, and you could recreate this very layout. Of course, you'll need the classic things that you need to be a scrapbooker are a paper cutter and adhesive. Well, because I inked all the edges and because this patterned paper is sort of a little bit busy in the background or it's like a continual pattern, I like to really give it an edge or an ending. So I inked around all the edges with the espresso ink. I'm not sure if we have espresso anymore. I think a lot of people use mocha now. But anyways, dark brown. I went around all the edges with dark brown. I really feel that gives it like a nice defined edge to the paper, and I like that look. So that is pretty well it for this layout. I hope you enjoyed watching it come together. I hope you didn't laugh too hard at me not liking doing Christmas pictures. And I hope that you will like and subscribe and leave me a comment on what you thought of this layout. See you all next time. Bye.